She was never satisfied. I thought she just had a high drive until I followed her to a hotel and handed her divorce papers. She was never truly satisfied. At first, I thought it was just a matter of passion. A fierce drive for intimacy that I mistook for desire, devotion, or maybe just a strong libido. I brushed off the signs, told myself I was lucky, fortunate even, to be married to a woman who craved me so deeply, so often. But that was before I followed her to a hotel, caught her in a moment of quiet betrayal, and handed her the papers that would end everything we built together. I used to believe that a good marriage required dedication, the kind made of honest communication, quiet patience, a willingness to compromise, and a bond cemented with intimacy. And for the most part, I genuinely believed that's what Emily and I had. I held onto that belief like a safety rope until it burned in my hands. We met in college, down in Austin, the city buzzing with life, possibility, and heat that seeped into your bones. Emily was the loud one, the kind of person who'd laugh with her whole body and light up a room without even trying. I was the quieter one, the guy in the background who preferred calm over chaos. She always said that was what drew her to me, that I was her anchor, her stillness in the whirlwind. We'd been married for 6 years. 6 long, messy, sometimes beautiful years. Our physical life, let's just say it was intense. I don't say that as a boast. In fact, more often than not, it left me drained, trying to keep up with a pace that felt less like connection and more like survival. She always wanted more. More touch, more time, more of me. And at first, I thought that was a blessing. There were nights where I'd joke, half serious, "Babe, are you trying to kill me?" And she'd just laugh. That effortless, carefree laugh that used to make me feel like the luckiest man in the world. But as time passed, that intensity stopped feeling romantic. It became a puzzle, something I couldn't figure out no matter how much love or attention I poured into her. I chalked it up to passion. Some people are just wired that way, I'd tell myself. Some people just burn hotter. But deep down, the questions started forming like cracks beneath the surface. It was on a Sunday afternoon when the first real fracture appeared. We were at a barbecue, hosted by one of her coworkers. Most of the guests were from her job strangers to me. I drifted through small talk while Emily floated around like she owned the place, smiling, laughing, sipping from a red cup like the star of her own movie. Then I saw her, noticed her, locked in conversation with a man named Nate, tall, broad shoulders, the kind of guy who knew he was attractive. They were standing close, too close for comfort. Her hand brushed his arm, lingering just a second too long, and her eyes looked at him like they were remembering something. Something inside me twisted. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe I was being jealous. But that feeling didn't go away. I swallowed it, pretended it was nothing. Don't be that guy, I told myself. Don't be insecure. She loves you. She chose you. On the way home, I tried to bring it up casually. I asked her about Nate, said they seemed close. She chuckled, said he was just a guy from her department. Funny. That's all. She even reached over, squeezed my hand, said, "You know you're the only one who matters, right?" And I nodded, smiled, but that voice inside my head was getting louder. The following weeks were a mix of familiar routine and unsettling distance. Emily started working late more often. Meetings, deadlines, last-minute projects. All the buzzwords that seemed designed to push away suspicion. But it was her behavior at home that bothered me more. She was almost too affectionate, like she was trying to make up for something. Her kisses were sweeter, her touches more frequent. But there was a haze over it all, like perfume sprayed over a fire. I tried to be rational. Even looked up articles online. How to keep up with a partner who has a higher sex drive. Maybe I just wasn't enough. Maybe it was me. Then one night it all changed. She was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I never snooped before, swore I never would, but something pulled me toward it. One glance, just one glance changed everything. A message from a contact named S lit up the screen. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You're unreal. When can we meet again?" My blood went cold. My hands trembled as I picked it up, scrolled through the thread. What I found wasn't innocent. It wasn't flirting. It was explicit, detailed, and absolutely unmistakable. She wasn't just talking to Nate. This was someone else entirely. I sat there, heart pounding, while the water still rushed in the bathroom. The woman I shared a life with, ate dinner with, slept beside every night. She had another world. One I wasn't even a guest in. And that world was loud, dirty, and secretive. My thoughts spiraled. Should I walk out? Confront her? Ignore it and pretend I never saw anything? I couldn't think straight. The shower turned off. I heard the curtain slide. My body went rigid. She walked in, wrapped in a towel, smiling, hair wet, eyes soft. "Hey babe," she said, like nothing had happened. "Miss me?" I looked at her, truly looked, and saw a stranger. I forced a smile, mumbled something about checking my phone, tried to keep my breathing steady as she crawled onto the bed, her skin brushing mine. I could still smell her shampoo, feel her warmth, but all I could think about was who else had felt that warmth recently. My mind was screaming, but I stayed quiet. I needed more. I needed to be sure. That night I barely slept. Every sound she made felt foreign. Every breath was a reminder that I didn't know her anymore. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I became a detective in my own home. Phone bills, cloud backups, bank statements, rideshare receipts, I dug into everything. And what I found broke me. It wasn't just one guy. Not just S. Not just Nate. There were several. Different names, different numbers, different locations. Some during work. Some while I slept next to her. It was a web of affairs, casual, physical, loveless. One message haunts me most. It was from her to someone named Brian. "My husband thinks I just have a high drive. If only he knew. It's never enough. I crave variety. It's who I am." I read it over and over until the words burned into my brain. And still, I didn't explode. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I waited. Watched. One Friday, she told me. Like always, she was working late. I already knew where she'd be. I tracked her phone to a hotel 25 minutes away. I drove there slowly, parked, waited. Then I saw her, walking out with a man I'd never seen before. Not Nate, not Brian, another stranger. They were laughing, holding hands, looking like a couple in love. I took photos, time-stamped, crystal clear. Then I followed her home, let her walk in like nothing was wrong. 5 minutes later, I walked through the door, calm, collected. She was pouring wine in the kitchen. "Hey babe, how was your day?" she asked without looking up. I set my phone on the counter, opened the gallery, turned it toward her. "You tell me." The smile vanished. Her hand froze. She looked at the screen, then at me, then back again. "How long, Emily?" I asked quietly. "How long have you been doing this?" Her voice trembled. I can explain." I shook my head. "No more lies. No more excuses. You weren't working late. You just were never satisfied." She didn't deny it. Didn't even try. "I don't know what's wrong with me," she whispered. "It wasn't about love. It never was. You're a great husband. I don't know. Something's missing." I nodded slowly. "I was supposed to be your partner, not your alibi." She cried, asked if I was leaving. I told her the papers were on the way. She could keep the house, but she wouldn't keep me. As I turned to leave, she said softly, "I never meant to hurt you." I looked back. "You didn't just hurt me. You destroyed us. It's been months now. The divorce is almost final. Therapy's been hell, but it's helping. Some days I feel fine. Some days I still ask myself if I wasn't enough. But I know better now. Her choices were never about me. I'm sharing this because maybe someone reading this feels that same gut instinct. That same doubt. Trust it. You know more than you think." In the days that followed that final confrontation, my world moved in slow motion. Everything felt muted, like life had been drenched in a pale gray filter that sucked the color out of the sky, the walls, even my own reflection. I'd wake up to an empty bed, the indent of her pillow still fresh, and for a second, my brain would play tricks on me, telling me she was just in the bathroom, just grabbing coffee, just late coming home. Then the cold reality would flood back in. She was gone. At least the version of her I loved was. The person I thought I knew had never really existed. And that realization, that tore me apart in a way no yelling match ever could. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erosion of trust, of time, of every little moment I thought had meant something. My friends tried to be supportive. The texts poured in. You deserve better. She didn't know what she had. At least you found out now. All well-meaning words from people who meant well. But they didn't know the silence that follows a love like that dying. They didn't know what it was like to sit in the kitchen alone, still reaching for 2 mugs every morning out of habit, only to catch yourself mid-reach and feel the wave of emptiness crash all over again. They didn't see me standing in the shower with my forehead against the wall, letting the water scald me because it was the only thing I could feel that didn't lie to me. Therapy became my lifeline. At first, I was skeptical. I didn't want to sit in a room with a stranger and talk about my feelings like I was in some cliché movie scene. But the first session changed me. The therapist didn't pry, didn't judge. She just listened. And when she spoke, her words didn't sound like advice. They sounded like mirrors. She helped me see that I was grieving something that had died long before I found those texts. I had been holding onto the ghost of a relationship, investing my energy into a version of Emily that she couldn't sustain because it was never real. That was a hard truth to swallow, that I'd been loving an illusion. The memories that hurt the most weren't the fights or the suspicions. It was the happy ones. The time she danced in the kitchen while making pasta, singing along to a song she could never quite remember the lyrics to. The time she snuck into my office just to sit on my lap and kiss me for no reason. The way she looked at me on our wedding day, eyes glimmering like I was her entire universe. Were those moments fake? Or was that the last flicker of someone who was slowly fading from us, already drifting toward her other life? I'd lie awake wondering if she ever looked at those other men the way she looked at me, if she giggled with them, told them her secrets, let them hold her when she was anxious. And that thought would rot my chest from the inside out. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. Slowly, quietly, like spring after a brutal winter. I started sleeping through the night. I started answering calls again. I even laughed, genuinely laughed, at a dumb joke my coworker made about coffee machines. It felt foreign, like trying on a shirt that didn't quite fit, but it was something. I took walks in the evening just to breathe. I picked up a book I'd been meaning to read for years. I deleted the screenshots from my phone. Not because I forgave her, I didn't, but because I refused to let her infidelity be the bookmark on the story of my life. She took enough from me. She didn't get to take the ending too. There was a moment, about 2 months after the separation, when I ran into her at a grocery store. It wasn't dramatic.
No screaming, no confrontation.
Just a passing glance near the bread aisle. She looked diminished, not broken, not miserable, just smaller somehow. Like the energy that once lit her up had dimmed. Her eyes met mine, and for a second, neither of us said anything. Then she gave me a soft, almost guilty smile, the kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. I nodded politely, then I walked away. And you know what? I didn't look back. That was the moment I realized I was healing. Because the old me, the man who once bent over backwards to make her smile, who read her favorite books just to connect deeper, he would have gone back. Tried one more conversation. Tried to save what couldn't be saved. But the new me? The me who knew what it meant to rebuild from rubble? He kept walking. Proudly. Quietly. With dignity intact. Now, as I write this, my divorce is official. The paperwork came through last week. No drama. Just a clean cut. A final chapter on a story that had too many hidden footnotes. I've moved into a new apartment. Nothing fancy. Just a 2-bedroom with sunlight that floods the living room and a balcony that's big enough for a chair and a cup of coffee. And you know what? It's enough. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm enough. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, who feels that tug in their gut that something isn't right, who's being gaslit or ignored or made to feel like they're crazy. I see you. I was you. And I'm telling you, trust yourself. Trust that inner voice. Because no one should have to play detective in their own marriage. No one should have to beg to be enough. And if someone treats you like you're just a backup plan while they explore every impulse that crosses their mind, then they don't deserve you. Thank you for sticking with me through this story. If you've ever faced something similar, or even if you haven't but you know someone who has, drop a comment. Share your thoughts. Your voice might be the lifeline someone else needs right now. And if you found this story moving or relatable, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. There's more to come. Stories about healing, about resilience, about learning to love yourself again, even after the person who promised to do that walked away.